veganism, keto, this, that. Like, I feel like everyone's going to the middle. Like, I
hope so.
I really feel it. I like really, that's what I do for a living. I watch trends.
Well, that was my favorite part of our last episode. You making the difference between everybody's so blue and red and we need to come together to form purple.
I want it. I want it for society, definitely politically, but I think we're even seeing it in health and wellness. Like, so you come here and it's like, people are crying about all sorts of dumb shit. It's unfair. You don't have a fucking clue what's unfair. You don't have a fucking clue of what's unfair. You're buying $8 coffee. You're fucking ordering an Uber Eats Postmates to pick up your fucking turkey bacon to be delivered at your fucking house. You have Netflix and Hulu and HBO Max. Like, the fuck's the matter with Americans?
On this episode of the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast, I sit down with none other than Gary Vaynerchuck for our second interview together. And if you haven't already heard the first one, you can find it by searching episode 125, Gary V for President, the Purple Heart Party. My favorite part of that episode was when he explained the importance of us coming together as a divided society, red versus blue, to form purple. This dissociation, not just politically, but in all aspects of life, is what we must overcome in order to actually thrive as human beings. Contrary to what the mainstream media tells us, very few things are black or white, good or bad. And in fact, as we mentioned again in this interview, this generalization of what or who is right or wrong is causing a lot of confusion. Instead, the answers to a balanced and fulfilling life can be found in the gray area. Speaking of a balanced and fulfilling life, this episode is all about Gary's health and wellness habits, and he explains the importance of healthy eating, prioritizing sleep, and exercising, even though he hates it. He admits that he's not good at challenging himself when it comes to fitness, and that's exactly why he hired a trainer, so he would have someone to hold him accountable. He says this decision to work with a coach completely changed his life. If you want life-changing results for yourself, I only have a few more spots available for the next voyage of the Captain's Lifestyle Program, launching January 23rd. The Captain's Lifestyle Program is my 4-month-long complete lifestyle optimization program for men who are tired of being tired, stressed out of shape, and settling for average, and instead are ready to commit to a life of optimal health, immense joy, and ultimate productivity. The program culminates at the Immersion, a 5-day rite of passage where, upon completion, you become the captain of your own life. To learn more and hear about the experience from other captains, head to thecaptainslifestyle.com/program. All right, now before we dive into this episode, a quick word from my sponsors, who I've personally selected because of how much they've helped me. First up, this episode is brought to you by Lambs, the healthiest clothes you'll ever wear. This is because they block harmful electromagnetic fields that we're exposed to from Wi-Fi, 5G towers, and all electronic devices. These EMFs have been proven to cause oxidative stress in the body, which leads to things like brain fog, headaches, fatigue, trouble sleeping, and even more serious conditions like reduced fertility, Alzheimer's, and even cancer. Lamb's clothing acts as a shield from this radiation by utilizing silver fiber technology, which blocks the EMFs from damaging your cells, essentially acting as wearable antioxidants. I know how much Gary loves antioxidants because he eats blueberries like it's his job.
I eat blueberries like it's my job.
So I decided to get him a custom Lambs beanie and shirt, which I give him at the beginning of this episode. You can get 15% off your own Lambs gear at getlambs.com and use code Captain Morgan. Next up, and on the same topic, this episode is brought to you by Aries Tech, who actually work with VaynerMedia. Aries Tech creates EMF protection that modulate the chaotic energy and neutralize their harmful effects on the body. Aries products are my all-time favorite biohack because of their effectiveness and simplicity. As long as you have an Aries device close by, you're protected. That's why I'm always wearing this necklace, the LifeTune Go, and why I give all my friends and family the LifeTune One, a sticker that you conveniently put on the back of your phone, which provides up to 19 feet of protection. Because let's be honest, our phones are rarely more than 19 feet away from us. So you're protected everywhere you go. You can get an exclusive 35% off discount for being a listener of the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast when you use code CaptainMorgan35. All right, now let's dive into my conversation with Gary Vaynerchuck.
Gary Vaynerchuck, hello again, sir.
It's good to see you, brother.
Got a couple things to make sure that we get taken care of. So last year I did a giveaway so I've got 3 VeeFriends. So I did a giveaway of one of my tokens to attend VeeCon, and the winner of my giveaway wanted me to get this signed.
Are you going to be able to make
by
it this year?
Oh, absolutely.
Love.
So he sent me
The
this
card?
card
You got it.
of
Do we
you
have a Sharpie team?
to get
Let's make sure we do
signed.
this- Let's make sure we do this proper. Yep, I see it. There we go. I would love to do that. Oh, you got it. Oh, you got it. I'm going to do this because it's better.
Yeah.
Very nice. What's that person's name? Do you remember?
His name is Andrew.
Andrew?
Yeah.
It is all done, brother.
Sweet.
All right.
Let's get
Good.
this back in here, and hopefully no scratches. So if he wants to get it graded,
Here, give it to me. I'm really good at this. This is one of the few things I've done thousands of times in my life.
I can imagine. Yeah.
This is all by the way, this is all I did in high school. This is my high
Cards?
school homework. Yeah.
I loved cards too.
It was my
I
entire
absolutely
life.
loved cards.
All right, my friend.
Sweet.
That's all done.
Thank you. And then I've got a present from one of my sponsors, Lambs. So last year I gave you the beanie.
Yes, which I rock.
Yes, I saw that. And
Yeah.
then so this year we're getting you a custom beanie, which they couldn't get to me in time, so we'll send that to you directly.
I can't wait.
And then this is a custom shirt with the Podcast Panther
oh
logo.
my God, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait to rock it.
Oh, they sent you a few. I didn't even know
I
that.
love it.
Sweet.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait to rock it. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Of course. So for this episode, let's discuss your health and wellness habits,
'Kay.
because I know that is something that you're big on.
Yes.
And a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners this is something that they're severely lacking.
Yes, and I was the far majority of my career.
Yeah. So I work with a lot of guys. They've done very well for themselves in business.
Yes.
But they are burning themselves out because
Yes.
they are prioritizing the business
Over
over
everything.
their own personal health
100%.
and happiness. So how did you first come to that realization?
I wasn't burning myself out. I was sleeping plenty. Like, I think the big misnomers about me is that I'm so passionate, high energy, that I think people don't realize how many things come to me naturally on the health and wellness front. Sleep. I've always been a 6, 7, 8 hour guy. Anxiety and pressure. Like, I sleep like a baby, like literally lights out. But I was doing nothing on eating and working out. And at 38, about 35, I started being like, wait a minute, like I'm like a little more.
fluff?
I'm not a little. I'm like, there's some real fluff here.
Got some love
And so I
handles?
started playing a little bit with like exercising for the first time in my life, probably around 32, actually, going back to Matt. Matt, if you're out there, hit me up, brother. I miss you. Guy lived local, basketball dude, treadmill first time. I mean, I had done nothing. Like, I was one of the, back to sports cards in high school, I was a very rare breed. Almost everybody I knew, outside of like 7 or 10 other dudes, like at least hit the weight room at some point in high school because they played a high school sport. Like, I played tennis, so like we didn't have to do that. Like, I just never did anything. I'd never benched. Like, I genuinely did nothing.
Yeah.
So at 32 is like the first time I kind of hit the gym. It was super hard. It was like super sporadic. I did very little. Like, I got hot for like 2 months, and then sure enough, like nothing. Then my career started really taking off at 34, and 34 to 38, just so much travel. Like, it was just not in the cards. It didn't come natural to me. I didn't eat well. I didn't work out at all. So at 38, even when I look at the content now, I'm like, fuck. Like, it was really starting to go down a direction that was super obvious to me. Even though my grandfather on my mom's side, who I'm more similar to, passed young, I got to see, even though there was not a lot of photos of him in Russia, I got to see, like, and look, he had a very tough life. He had spent 10 years in jail around anti-Semitism in Eastern Europe. But, like, even with all that said, the body type, and then my uncle, my mom's brother, who I think I have more body type similarities to, he, on the other hand, has really taken care of himself. And, like, Uncle Joseph at, like, 72 looks like looks great. I'm like, wait a minute, like, that makes more sense for me to go down that path. So I just started having realizations that this isn't good. Like, just a very logical, practical convo like you're having right now of like, I'm not prioritizing this. This does not come natural to me. Oh my God, I'm giving really good advice to people about business that's based on like very basic principles. And I can't take that in health and wellness. Like, get in the gym and eat properly, and like good things will happen. And so I kind of started selling myself on this put out a Facebook fan page post of like, I need someone. This guy, John, won. He worked me out for a while. That was an okay run at like 35, 36, 37. Like I almost got there. I got in the gym a little bit more. He was a fun character. He had like a business and like, so it was like fun for me a little bit to talk to him. It was like almost like I was consulting while I was working out. It was fun. Then again, just it wasn't a real commitment. He then introduced me to a kid, Mike Vacanti. Mike, who has stuck, and more people know that are in my world, he was my trainer for 6 months, and I worked out like 6 times in 6 months. I canceled like 47 times, and so.
Why?
Because I just wasn't, and you know this, either you're in or you're out. There is no half pregnant.
No.
Not on business, not on health and wellness, not on anything. Like you're just either in or you're out. It's just binary. And so I was half. Like I was trying, but it came so not natural. I didn't like it. 6 months later, after like lollygagging with him for a couple months and then not talking to him for 3 months, I called him. And I said, Mike, on my 40th birthday, I was on a plane. I told him a story. I was on a plane. I remember it like yesterday. I'm literally in the first row because I remember the feet didn't have, right? Head on the thing, tired, flew into Dallas, flying back, And I'm just like, on my 40th birthday, I'm going for it. I'm 38 and a half. I'm talking like 7. 38 and a half. And I'm going to spend the next year and a half getting myself mentally in to commit to this thing. By the time the plane is in the air, because it's on the ground, by the time it just like lifts off, not like
You had already committed.
I've already committed to 39.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck am I waiting to 40 for?
Yeah.
By the time I land, I text Mike, do you have a moment to talk? I go, Mike, and I figured it out from that Dallas flight home that what makes me professionally is I love being a leader. I like delivering for Andrew and Dustin Jake. Like I like delivering for them. What was making me not win health and wellness was I'm not good challenging myself for myself, doing it for myself. So I figured this thing out where I was like, if I can be held accountable to a babysitter, if I don't let Mike down, if I'm doing it for Mike, maybe this will work.
If you're like Gary and you struggle to challenge yourself and would benefit from someone else holding you accountable, visit thecaptainslifestyle.com/crew to join my high-performance brotherhood of goal-oriented men who will not only hold you accountable, but also challenge you to level up. We communicate daily in our group chat, meet once a week for a coaching call, and host monthly masterminds. Joining the crew will be the best decision you make all year. I guarantee it. Oh yeah, and it's only $1. Seriously. Click the link in the description to join your new brotherhood.
So this hypothesis that if I did it for someone else, it would work. And I finally got to the financial place where I could hire somebody full time to follow me around. I wanted to be suffocated. So I called Mike. I said, Mike, you're my last trainer. Like, do you know somebody who's like a little younger than you, who is at that point in their life, like, 19, 22, 24-year-old dude who can just like fucking live with me, travel with me. That was pretty loud. Like do something like that. And he said, what about me? And I said, are you there? Because he was, Mike was like 25 or 7 at the time. He had all these clients and an online business, and I wasn't sure he could. He's like, I can do it. We talked it through. A couple weeks later, he started. And from that day to this day, besides a 3-year period where his friend Jordan did it, Mike has been my full-time trainer. He moved to Minnesota full-time during COVID, and so we do it virtually now, which is a little more of a challenge for me. Like, he flies in occasionally, and we do it, and I'm like, there's a little bit of a difference, and so I've been thinking through that lately. He doesn't travel with me as much, but since I was 38 and a half, and now I turned 47, so 9 years, I've been doing it, and it's completely changed my life. Jordan changed my soft tissue part of my life, so that fixed my back. My strength is dramatically higher. My eating habits are much stronger. I continue to be more and more educated with that in my life, and so I'm really happy I did it.
How does the strength aspect of it and your back feeling better and everything that goes along with consistent workouts, how has that shown up for you in the business world? Like, what's the difference between?
And I say that with like a funny answer because I don't like making things up. I believe that it has helped so many of my friends. The amount of friends that say to me, because when I did it, a lot of my friends who were like in better shape than me were like, fuck this, you're getting better than me. Like, I'm going to do it too. Like Mike Lazaro, big shout out. Like a lot of my friends like took up on it. And for a lot of them, it did impact it. I don't know if I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, I'm sure there's some impacts because I would like to not dismiss it, but I want to be unbelievably transparent. I don't have any extra energy than I did before. I don't.
Interesting.
I think it might be healthier energy, right? Like I might be, like I drank a lot of soda and I drink none now. So like I assume that caffeine and that sugar was driving me. Now I'd like to think that it's more healthy dynamics, but it hasn't shown up that way. It's shown up in fun ways. My son gets tired at a sporting event and wanted me to carry him from the seat to the parking lot, carrying him while I've got a bag of like stuff from the ball game. I didn't have the strength, even when he was a much littler kid, to carry him the whole way. Whereas, you know, I remember, I bring up this story because it's very vivid to me. Like 4 or 5 years ago, I went like the whole way and I was like, oh my God, this is nice to have this strength, because it's also a sweet moment. Like when you're a dad, your son sleeping on your shoulder late night at a game is like the cutest thing ever. Something like I am almost emotional talking about it right now. It's like a memory I'll take to the grave. If I didn't have the strength to carry him, it would have been a memory I wanted to forget, because I would have been holding his hand while he was like snickering and complaining and walking. And so, like at the airport, like the silliest shit strength, right? Like having my luggage while I can help like an elderly lady. And like, I think about this stuff because I lived without strength for so long, like having a little more. And then like things I think about, like, what if God forbid one day in my life, I have to actually use my strength to stay alive? Like I'm falling off a cliff or something. I'm like, it'll be cool if I can last 6 minutes instead of 1 minute. Maybe in that 5 minutes, somebody will save me. Like I think about that shit.
Yeah, me too. It makes you harder to kill, right?
It's literally real.
More resilient.
More resilient.
And I don't think it is silly strength. Like the thing with your kid, or, you know, putting stuff up at and the overhead compartment for an elderly woman.
Yeah.
These are things that a lot of people don't think about. And it's just general quality of life improves.
100%.
And especially as a father, I don't know personally, but I imagine this is an extremely important thing. As you mentioned, you were getting emotional. If you weren't able to carry your son or be there for him, like to carry him or support him, that, I imagine that would wear on you as a father. If you're not able to, you know, play with them or like, whatever.
I think that's right. I think, like, you know, I genuinely like how it shows up in the little moments. And look, for me, the soft tissue thing, the fascia thing, like the quality of life, there's the biggest delta. Some of those are just very nice, altruistic, emotional moments. The actual quality of life of like my back not hurting me or being discomfort is like real. And it's probably, though I talk about sleeping well, like now literally sitting here, like, you know, like my quality of sleep has been better the last 6 years because I'm not like adjusting to like, you know, discomfort. And like not having the occasional one time a year where my back would go out has been really nice.
So why do you continue to work out if you haven't noticed any measurable differences in business? Like, why do you still do it so consistently?
Well, I don't work out for business. I work out because I believe that 70 to 90, you know, Mike once said something about the correlation of leg strength and longevity of life.
Absolutely.
And like, you know, I don't like take Mike's word for it. I'm like, is this some propaganda? He's fucking with me because these Bulgarian fucking things are just the worst fucking thing in my life.
Bulgarian split squats?
These Bulgarian for everyone's list, Bulgarian split squats make me. I did it 2 days ago, and like I wanted to like legitimately like kill the world. Like they're just so hard. And now, like, you know, they were hard when I had to do body weight back in the day. Now this fucker's got me like carrying real weights with them too. So like, you know, so I looked into it, and it's like really interesting. You start realizing like a lot of people, if they go to a cane or wheelchair, like it really fucks you up. And if you're at 90 and you can still be walking versus those alternatives, like that matters. And I'm also just very practical. Modern medicine. Like when I look at everybody here, I'm like, look at how awesome we all have it. Everyone here has a real shot to be 100. That was not the case 30 years ago. Everybody was gonna be 85, 92. And so like, I don't know, like very frankly, I think a lot about being 90 to 100. I think about who am I gonna be at that point? how much wisdom can I, like, I always think about, like, Gary V today is trying to put out good into the world and has a big platform. Well, me at 90 to 100, I can be on some Yoda shit. And if I can hang for another 10 more years, I can leave more positive deposits. And if I have to do fucking Bulgarian split squats to be there, then fuck it, I'm going to do it. I really think that's like literally exactly how my brain thinks about it.
Absolutely. Another one of the biggest correlators to quality of life as you age is your ability to get up off the ground.
Correct.
Because, you know, if you fall,
That's right.
a lot of
That's right.
elderly people are just kind of
right.
stuck there.
That's right.
So being able to get on the floor like
And
a
then
burpee.
and then emotional stuff like I don't know, if I live 90 to 100, does that mean I get to see my granddaughter get married versus not? Like, I don't know. Like, you know, it's really funny. I think everyone will associate with this. We all grew up in a way where when you're 17, you're just not over worried about being 34. You're like not worried about 34-year-old headaches. And then you get to 34 or 25 and you're like, oh, fuck, like here I am. Like right now, it's easy for me not to overthink 90, but like in a blink, I'm going to be there. And like when you get there, then you do start worrying about it. And so like if I have to put in the logical work, and then like my friends are like, yeah, but you might, you know, like when they're like just gorging on food and wine and they're like, I'm not. And they're like, yeah, but you can get hit by a tree. I'm like, yes, you can get hit by a tree. I love when people use like mathematical things that are like virtually impossible, like as a counterpoint. Like anything you can control, if you can make it better, why wouldn't you consider it? And for me, working out is the hardest thing. To this day, almost a decade later, I do not want to do it. It does not come natural to me. It's, you know, I have such envy for people. I'm making an assumption just because you're in such great shape. I always feel like for those people, it's kind of like business for me. Like business for me comes natural. Mm-hmm. Everything's easy. I'll always be great at it because I've always been and I always will be. But like, you know, I have a lot of envy, and I don't have a lot of envy in my heart, but I have envy for people that like literally like love it. Can't wait to go. Like for me, that's not my reality, but it's so damn important. I fight for it.
Love it. What was so why hire somebody in person to travel with you and train you in person?
I was self-aware enough to know that like I would hide. Like there's this incredible story that Jordan and Mike talk about where I discovered that I could put my big toe against my bathroom counter to lower the scale weight.
And you would do that consciously?
So like I also weigh myself every day and I take a picture and I send it to Mike and Jordan, and it's like kept me in check. It's huge for me. One day by accident, like I like slipped in the bathroom or something. And
was
like,
it an accident?
It was an accident. I like slipped in the bathroom for a second, like, oh, like, you know, like kind of scary shit. Like there was some water there. It kicked the scale a little bit. I didn't really realize it. You know, like showered, went on the scale, and the scale was very close to like the bottom of my sink. And just somehow, I'm like on it, like somehow it like grazed it, and I could see that it kind of moved for a second. I'm like literally just never dawned on me. And I was like, wait a minute. And so like I pushed it a little more and I saw the scale went down. And so I started, like nothing happened. I did it the normal day. But the next day, I remember this very vividly, it's like 6 years ago, I like had a big dinner. And I believe I had a big dinner because I actually just discovered this thing on a scale. And sure enough, the next morning I was like up more than I'd like to be. And I kicked it a little. And then, so this went on for like 2 weeks. And like it completely allowed me to go up like 3 actual pounds, like actually, not kind of like, you know, scale weight. And I felt it. Because at this point in my life, I'd shredded. I went from like 188 to 157 to like 168. But like that 157 to 168 came with like 5 pounds of muscle. And I was like, whoa, this is different. Like you start learning, right? I'm like, oh, I can be like at this weight, but look different. I'm like, look way, you know, like it's really cool when you learn like muscle can enter your body and like reform you, and how much it hits the scale. And you just start learning when you don't know anything. For all the people who are listening right now that don't know anything yet, you'll be on this journey. So I really felt it. I was like, this sucks. Like this doesn't feel as good. And so it's just this really funny joke we always have, because I was like, came downstairs real sad. They were both there, I think, if I recall it properly, or just one of them, and they Zoomed the other one, and I can't remember, or FaceTimed. But I was like, guys, I've lost my way. Like it was like real tail between the leg. Like I lost my way. I was like, they're like, what happened? I'm like, I figured this thing out, and this and that. It's like, I guess that was a very long-winded way to tell you why I hired somebody full-time. I knew that I was going to try everything and anything to not do this. It's that bad. It's that hard for me.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sitting here right this second telling you how hard it is. And if you told me 9 years later, after going through this journey, that it would be this hard, I might have not believed you. I would have said, at some point it would have clicked in. It's a fight every day. When people talk about, alcoholism or things of that nature, substance abuse, and they talk about it's a battle forever. This journey in my life around health and wellness, though I don't put it on the same plane as a disease of substance abuse. I have such empathy and compassion for people that are battling that every day, but it is the closest thing in my life where I'm like, wow, this will just never be easy.
Yeah. So that level of accountability so that was the reason why you hired them for the accountability.
I needed a babysitter and accountability.
That level of self-awareness and ultimately vulnerability to be able to share with them that you did that trick, because a lot of people, they will lie to their trainers or their coaches, and then they don't get the results. So why? So you did it for what, 3 days you said, and then I did it for came clean.
Yeah, it wasn't long, maybe a week or two. But why? Because I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
I don't like tricking myself. I think the reason I'm a happy person is when you trick yourself, you're finished.
You can't lie to yourself.
You can't lie to yourself.
Lack of integrity.
It's also I actually want to make everyone who's listening to this, make it more selfish. Forget about something as ideological as integrity, which I think is such a noble thing to fight for. It's just gonna not be good. Mm-hmm. There's just a much more kind of basic, let me make this very basic for you. If you're lying to yourself about anything, it will be bad. Mm-hmm. Nothing good will happen. In a relationship, so many kids come up to me Gary V, you're gonna buy the Jets, I'm gonna buy the Broncos. Literally my brain every time, not to a lot of times I'm just man, I hope that kid doesn't believe that.
Or if he does, then he's serious about it.
Correct. I mean, normally when I see it, my great hope is that they're locked in and obsessed, and for 40 years I'm going to do it. But in reality, 99.9% of the time, it's very obvious to me immediately that it's someone who's tricking themselves. I'm going to be a billionaire. And I'm like, why? And this. And there's just a lot. I see it a lot. I'm going to be a rapper. I'm going to be a professional athlete.
Well, you know why a lot of people do that? I'm sure you know this, is we get increase in dopamine when we say we're going to do something. So a lot of people will say something like that. They get that feeling, and then the pursuit of it is it doesn't matter anymore because they've already felt what it feels like, and so they just keep saying these things. I'm going to ...
The danger of the short-term high in our society is a real issue, and I know exactly why people do it. People also genuinely are grounded in insecurity and believe they can trick people into believing things. This is a very big thing amongst people, in my opinion, when I'm watching people navigate. They're trying to paint a picture about themselves to others because they value others' opinions of them. And so they posture, they peacock. And I think that's a vulnerability, unfortunately, when it's not grounded in actual belief.
Yeah. So let's talk about eating habits.
Please.
I know you love blueberries.
Yes.
We mentioned that on our last episode.
I do.
What else do you do to eat properly?
I've gotten very hot on something recently. I've definitely, my bad carb intake is down, and I really feel it, which I'm really excited about. I kind of decided in August, after going through a period of 100 days where I wasn't at my best, which is okay. I think a big thing for a lot of people is they beat themselves. They go great for 6 months. They have one bad week, and they're like, it's okay. You can get back on, right? So I went through a summer where it was just a lot of travel. After COVID, I got to travel a little bit, and it just wasn't as tight as I wanted it to be. And then I had 1 week at my parents' house with the family where it really fell off the wagon because my parents just go old school Eastern European, just a lot of garbage. And and that's an excuse. I can navigate around it. But I was at the tail end of a bad 100-day cycle. It was midsummer. We were in the best time family. I just hit what I would call my rock bottom of my eating habits. And really felt shitty about it. And then just kind of serendipitously watched like a keto propaganda documentary, and I understood what I was watching, but I took certain elements of it for myself. And I kind of created my own like food triangle of like, I'm gonna go dramatically more protein because I like it. I have a real, it comes unnatural to me, but I have a very good gift on the other side. I like everything. So like I like English peas and asparagus and cauliflower the same way I like sugar and a burger and like a shake, like equally. So I have this real gift where I like it all. So I was like, fuck it. I love clean protein. I love vegetables. Like I can like shift this a little bit. And I've been on it since August, and here we are, you know, like 3-4 months in, and like, you know, I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. My carb intake is down. That's huge because I like a good muffin or thing of that nature. I also try to eat clean more and more. So, you know, grass finished,
Absolutely.
not just grass fed.
I'm
like,
glad you mentioned that.
yeah. So I'm pretty educated in some of that stuff. Like, you know, my girlfriend Mona is very educated in it. So like natural flavors I look out for. Like I've really become educated on what the government allows food companies in America to do. And so it's not only about calorie count, it's really now at this point in my life, like organ meats and things of that nature. I've gotten very, very educated, and I'm just fighting to be good about it as often as possible.
I'm very relieved that you mentioned that, because that's something that a lot of people, at least in my experience, they don't understand. A lot of
It's the
people
next
are
level.
Still focused on
Correct.
calories.
It's the next level.
Yeah.
The next level that our entire society is going to go into
Quality.
is the quality of the product. That comes along with finances. So I think a lot about
For now.
correct.
For now.
And so like I think entrepreneurs are going to get in there and try to like build good businesses based on these trends, which will drive down costs. So it's going to be fun to watch, but like, yeah, like I definitely am really deep on that. And I think any style of eating, veganism, keto, things of that nature, anything that goes too extreme is missing the point.
Yeah.
Anything that goes too extreme is missing the point. I agree. A fulfilling life is about balance, especially when it comes to diet. There is no one-size-fits-all diet. That being said, a carnivore-ish keto-mimicking diet, as Gary describes, is what I've found to work best for me and my clients for weight loss, muscle gain, and mental clarity. Usually to get the benefits of ketosis, you'd have to fast for a few days or eat strictly keto. I don't know about you, but I love carbs. Thankfully, I found Ketone IQ, which are drinkable ketones that instantly provide the energy, focus, and fat-burning effects of ketosis without having to eat strictly keto. These have been a game changer for me. I take them in the morning before work to turn my brain on, and before workouts as rocket fuel for clean energy and to supercharge fat burning. To experience the Ketone IQ magic for yourself, head to hvmn.com and use code CaptainMorgan20.
So I'm trying to be very thoughtful of like being purple, like the whole red,
Yes.
like, you know, like I think a lot about that. So, you know, I think I'm taking different little things from different kind of trends and knowledge bases, but eating clean, like, you know, glass, like even glass over plastic for water, like
100%.
like clean is definitely a part of my regimen. I'm not, you know, just for full transparency, I'm like also very capable of like just grabbing a Jolly Rancher and eating it. Whereas like, I know that is uncomfortably not clean, but I definitely think that I would be in the category of a clean eater now 80% of the time, which is insanely exciting for me, because to even just have the knowledge of going to a restaurant and asking if the beef is grass finished, that's just like profound knowledge base that I didn't have walking around 5 years ago. And so I'm really excited about what that will mean for my longevity.
Yeah. Speaking of the knowledge, where are you learning all this stuff?
Mona.
Okay.
Like she's very deep into this, so she's propaganding me 24/7. But I'm genuinely, you know, curious about it. And I get into these Google, you know, YouTube documentary, and then I'm also very good at knowing if someone's pushing something. So I'm able to take a little step back, right? Like, you know, I just am very common sense oriented. Like, you know, when I look at the personalities on the internet, I'm always trying to understand like, hey, what's their objective? Like, what's their financial goals? And I don't begrudge it. But I'm also not going to be like, look, if I just eat this, I'm going to look like that when there's very clear indications that there's chemically enhancement going along with maybe some good behaviors.
Yeah, that's why my brand is the Captain's Lifestyle, because I was a CrossFit coach for a while. People would come to me asking, hey, I've been coming to the gym for a year now. Why am I not seeing the difference? And I would say, well, how's your sleep? How is your stress levels? How is your diet? And their answers would always be the same. I'm lucky if I sleep 6 hours. Stress is high because of relationship, work, whatever. Diet is pretty good. And so they're thinking that they can spend 1 hour in the gym and offset the other 23 hours of a bad lifestyle.
Not to mention, and this, the other thing is a lot of people don't know what they're doing in the gym for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like shocked. Back to education, I got very fortunate with Mike and Jordan. These are real dudes. They did it the right way.
Everybody get a personal trainer.
It's
taught how to move.
Yeah, it's a big difference when you do it the right way versus the way you want to do it.
Yes.
Like, my neck tried to do everything at first.
Yeah,
like everything.
Super tense. Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't have any strength. Yeah. So like everything was like the neck was doing all the fucking like my push-ups for me, right? And so like when you learn how to like do it and just like you know this, like dudes are competitive and like do a lot of things for optics. So like
the amount of ego
and the momentum they use, and you're like not doing the right thing either. And then there's also just like body type, like like I definitely, for a lot of people listening, like I have a smaller frame and like smaller natural, like I've done so much of the right stuff. What I didn't do, COVID taught me a big one. I, for the first time, was able to really go in on a lot of work in the gym, protein. Like I was so obsessed with weight that I could have a huge lift day and then fast. And so then what would happen was I wasn't getting the muscle benefit. In COVID, because I just had the time, I was like, you know what, fuck it. I have the time. Let me like see it. That was by far the biggest muscle gain I've ever had. So, I've definitely been in better behavior of muscle gain of like, okay, if I'm going to hit it, I'm going to, I don't care about what the scale's going to say today, even if I was bad yesterday, like I'm going to hit the protein hard after this. But some people, you're just never going to look like certain, like I talk about this with entrepreneurship all the time. Like people are like, Gary, I want to be like you. I'm like, you're not going to be.
Be like you.
Correct. I was like, I was selling stuff at 5. I've only done this. I'm 40 years in, only doing this. I was a natural talent, only doing this. Like you're 29 and you were a good student, worked at a company and you're starting your first business. It's going to be a gap. Same for me. Like I'm not going to look like other people that maybe put in the same amount of work with me because they've been genetically predisposed to get different outcomes of the same work. That's okay. Just maximize you.
So what would your advice be to somebody who is looking at outside sources like people or they want to grow?
Keeping up with the Joneses is the number one way to be an unhappy person.
There we go.
Like nobody else's physique, nobody else's bank account, nobody else's girl, nobody else's guy, nobody else's trips, nobody else's car, nobody else's follow count, blue check mark. Like it's never going to work out. It's never going to work out. Go into your cocoon. I do my best work in the gym when I create fake scenarios. So Mike sometimes will be like, what did you just do? Because he knows me well. Because I'm doing something really hard for me and I crush it. And I'm like, oh, I was making pretend that I was in a concentration camp. And if I don't do these weights, they're going to kill my grandparents. And he's like, you are a sick fuck. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Or other times, like a lot of times I make pretend I was part of the University of Miami football team with The Rock. And like, I have to do, like, the whole team's watching. Like, I really have to do this stuff with my head. And like, I like that stuff. And I want people to kind of almost live their life that way. Like, do not live for anybody outside. Live for yourself. Play within your own cocoon. Create your own scenarios with yourself, for yourself, and very good outcomes will happen.
Let's talk on this mindset for a little bit, because this is my number 2 or maybe number 1 performance hack is the story that you're telling yourself in your head.
100%.
Because when most people go to the gym or do anything hard for that matter, they what if the bad stuff. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? What if I embarrass myself in front of all these people? I like to play the game, what if the good stuff? What if I could go for a minute longer? What if I could do 3 more reps? What would it mean about me if I was able to accomplish this thing?
Comma, I love that. That's very beautiful. Comma, what about the concept of if you go to a public gym and you're only doing 15s and somebody snarks at you, what about actually feeling bad for that person?
Yeah.
Like
I've
to
been
me,
there.
the thought that somebody would try to hurt your feelings when you're in the gym just means they're deeply insecure. Deeply.
Yeah.
You know, and so like I think we as a society need to start feeling bad for people that try to make us feel bad. Like actually feel bad for them.
Well, it's your whole brand, empathy.
I believe
Have
in it.
empathy for them.
I genuinely have compassion for people that are trying to hurt me.
Yeah.
I like have never reacted to the negativity thrown at me in anything other than compassion.
Never.
Like, no, like
Because for me, I had to understand, because I used to be that person. Where
I got
occasionally-
fortunate. Let's remember, I'm 47. I didn't start living my public life until I was like 34. So many more people, all of you, are growing up with it now. So I'm sure if I was 18 and started doing the Gary Vee thing, that
And
I
there
was
was social media back then.
Yeah, I was probably a less strong mentally supernova.
Yeah.
Though I was still me, I would have probably done well-ish, but I would have succumbed. I would have definitely had insecurities around like, who the fuck knows my zit, or you know, there would have been shit, right?
Yeah.
I can relate to that. For me, I got fortunate when this all went down. I was like on the other side of the hill by then.
So I'm curious about the organ meats. Do you actually consume the organ meats, or do you take a
Yes.
supplement?
I actually consume them.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Which organs?
I'll eat everything, like liver, like I'll eat anything. Like I'm very into like livers and brains and hearts. I'm being serious, like cow tongue. Like I'm very into weird shit.
We should have brought some raw liver.
Yeah, like liver is the easy one for me. Like liver is super easy. Like I like, you know, this is less healthy, but like I'm like a foie gras, like sea urchin, you know, sweetbread.
Anything.
I'm like very weird. Like,
What's the weirdest thing you've consumed?
I think I've had baboon penis. I'm kidding. I just did that for the clip. But I would, like, I'm like so weird. Like I don't skeeve. Like there's that durian fruit or something that like kills people. Yeah,
the
like
super,
durian.
is that the super smelly one?
Yeah, I like ate that when I was in Asia on like CNN. Like they were like, "We hear you." I'm like, I'm very strange with my tolerance. I'm like the anti-COVID. Like I'm never skeeved out. Like I saw this lady like licking like an escalator or something. You saw that one too? And I was like embarrassed where my brain went. Like I was like, I'd do that. Like it's just like I'm very not germed. I'm like whatever the most germaphobe. Like Howie Mandel, I think, right?
Yeah,
It's like super.
yeah.
Like I'm the reverse. Like which allows me to eat all textures, all theories. Nothing scares me. Like I also grew up in an Eastern European household. Soviet, where like cow tongue is a big delicatessen, and it's like the big ass tongue. Like it's
Wow.
like it's not like the little
Yeah.
part. The whole fucking thing's there. I would cut the shit out of that and eat it with horseradish. Like liver was like a constant. My mom would do liver all the time. Like, yeah,
That's good.
yeah, it's really good, especially now. Like I'm really excited that I think veganism, keto, this, that. Like I feel like everyone's going to the middle. Like
I hope so.
I really feel it. I like really. That's what I do for a living. I watch trends.
Well, that was my favorite part of our last episode. You making the difference between everybody's so blue and red, and we need to come together to form purple.
I want it.
That's-
I want it for society, definitely politically, but I think we're even seeing it in health and wellness. I think everyone's like, hey, this very alpha male movement, hey, this maybe more female energy movement, like everyone's kind of,
all
it's
balanced.
coming in, and I'm really excited about it.
That's my logo. It's the yin yang.
I love that. That's exactly right.
Each of these spokes stands for a different, most important pillar of health. And once you understand how to properly steer,
I love
you
that
reach
about you, brother. I
balance.
think that's a really good stance, and I think that is going to be the answer to the quiz for the world. Whoever can get to the middle in a sustainable way forever will be the happiest. And so I think sometimes you get to the middle through extremes on both sides. Like I'm incredibly fiercely competitive. I'm very alpha. You know, I call VaynerMedia the honey empire. Like empire is not a soft word. I'm trying to build an empire, but
Yeah.
I want to do it with honey over vinegar. And so I think sometimes you can get to the middle through extremes, which is okay.
Yeah.
But actually probably realistic and self-aware. But yeah, I'm really excited about health and wellness finding its middle ground. And I hope people get more and more educated because it's like nice to live longer and happier.
So we've talked about diet, talked about exercise. Those are the two things most people are familiar with. What about sleep? Let's talk about your sleep habits.
Oh, man, I sleep. My normal is 11 or 12 to 7 at this point. I would argue for the last 6 years, I've been in the 12 to 7 game. Now, I'm going to Qatar tonight. Like, who the hell knows what my sleeping pattern in the next 48 hours is going to be?
Do you have anybody who helps optimize like jet lag? Do you have like a high performance coach or anything?
No. On that front, I haven't gotten to that place. What I can tell you is this. If someone asked me, like, what's driving you for all the stuff you put out in the world? I feel an enormous amount of guilt for how little anxiety I have. I don't know how else to say it. In my true purple, it is a mixture of guilt and gratitude. But it's like tough to talk about publicly when you know how many of the 8 billion people on earth don't have that. I'm so simple in real life that I struggle to be anxious. And what I mean by that is nothing bothers me except the occasional pop-up of fear that someone I love is going to get sick or die soon. And then when that happens, everything else is just way too manageable. And I feel like the reason I'm talking about this is I have to believe the fact that I sleep like a fucking baby. And I mean, like, really. Like, the second I lay down, it's good night, Charlie. Like, I do not sit there and think about, like, anything. Anything.
Yeah.
It's, like...
Why do you think that is?
Because I don't have anxiety.
All right, so most of us are not as fortunate as Gary, and we do struggle with anxiety and racing thoughts before bed. One of the most effective strategies I've personally implemented to reduce stress and anxiety and get deeper, more restful sleep is supplementing with magnesium. Magnesium is an essential mineral that plays a role in over 300 different functions in the body, including stress reduction, increasing melatonin, improving muscular recovery, and even boosting testosterone. Unfortunately, around 80% of the US population is deficient in magnesium, even if you eat a healthy diet. This is due to poor farming practices, which deplete the soil of many key nutrients, including magnesium. And the problem with most store-bought magnesium supplements is that they usually contain magnesium oxide, which is very poorly absorbed by the body. But it's super cheap, which is why most companies use it, because they just want to make a profit and they think you won't know any better. They don't actually care about your health. Thankfully, you listen to the Captain's Lifestyle podcast, where I expose their greedy tactics and give it to you straight. There are many forms of magnesium, all providing slightly different benefits. And if I had to just pick one, I would choose magnesium glycinate, which I used for many years until I found Magnesium Breakthrough, which combines 7 different forms of magnesium, including magnesium glycinate, to provide maximum benefit. I take 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon on stressful days, and always 2 at night before bed, and I sleep like a rock. This is my #1 recommended supplement for a reason. If you're stressed out or have trouble sleeping, please just try it. You have nothing to lose. Literally, it's so effective, they offer a 365-day, no questions asked money-back guarantee. And I guarantee that you won't use it because this shit works. Head to magbreakthrough.com/Taylor and use code Captain Morgan to see for yourself.
I know, but why?
Because I think I keep life incredibly, uncomfortably simple.
How so?
I don't care about anything except like 20 people's health.
Yeah.
like genuinely, actually, for real, nothing.
I mean, I understand. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
convey
no,
it for the listeners because
like I'll give you a
really
great
can
I'll give
be
you
that
I'll give you a
simple.
great example. I think it would, even people that kind of know me well, knock them to their soul when we hang out in heaven and I show them how much I cared about my professional career. Nothing.
Yeah.
I have like almost.
That was my favorite part of your book. Like one of the first sentences in there, like once you truly understand how unimportant business is,
then you can get good. 100%, brother. Thank you for calling that out. I have almost none of my self-esteem wrapped up in my professional accomplishments. If I'm on the other side of consuming me, unless I'm like 5 years in and really listened to all the words, I don't see how one could get to that conclusion. But it's true. It's all just a game. It's all simple. It's all slow for me. It's all easy. I love people. People can't hurt me. I'm not trickable. I believe in my intuition. My emotional intelligence is off the charts. When people try to hurt me, I'm not mad at them. I have compassion for them. It's just all fucking simple and quiet.
It really is that simple.
It really is that simple. Now, what even compounds that is I have a heavy dose of humility in that, because I realize that that is the work of my DNA and my parenting and my environment, all of which have nothing to do with me. So on top of everything I just said, when you also then say these things and you come from a place of humility, like one of the reasons I passionately talk about what I talk about when it comes to me is I think I'm giving roses to my parents. When I talk about me in this setting, I don't feel anything good about it. I feel good that my parents get to hear it, and they should feel good about it. They're the creators of. When I talk in any context about myself, that's me giving roses to Sasha and Tamara Vaynerchuck, not to me. They built this. My mom built this. My dad built this. For real. Now, there was circumstance but they decided to come to America. So they even get the credit for that. I mean, they get a lot of this. And so, for me, I do have pride in the way I've built my companies. Like when I look at VaynerMedia, I'm like, I did this. Of course, my team, but fuck, I did this. But when I talk about me, that's what makes me laugh about people ego or I'm which is insecurity, but I don't know, Michael Jordan. Let's talk about it. Is that for Michael Jordan or is that for his parents? I really think about this shit. I think the person that can talk about their kids, can talk about their businesses, their output into society. But, it gets hard to when I think about my lack of anxiety, I'm like, man, that was a son of a bitch fucking masterclass of how to build a human being. My mom gave me affirmation of confidence on the best things, held me accountable to things that didn't matter, school, but didn't have my validation wrapped up in it. You know how challenging it is to punish your child for bad grades, make them realize you just can't fucking navigate life and do whatever. There's ramifications for certain things when you're supposed to be doing them, but don't have an ounce of your self-esteem wrapped up in your DNFs. That's fucking hard.
Where do you think your parents learned this?
Well, that's where it gets even weirder for me, because then I look at them and my mom lost her mom at 5. Her dad goes to jail when she's 10.
So
for
really,
10
they have
years.
no reason to.
Right. My dad loses his dad at 15. He was a traveling salesman. Fuck, man. They grew up in the Soviet Union. It was a fucking shit show. What's going on in America? If you think you have tension and you fucking idiots, you have nothing. Fucking Soviet Russia in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. People were going to jail. People were scared. People were fucking telling on each other and sending them to jail. People were getting murdered. People were disappearing. There's no court. There's no media. Fucking people were dying at 45 of alcoholism because everyone's drinking vodka. Everyone's drinking themselves to death. They were fucking petrified. You couldn't leave the country. It was a fucking jail. You could not leave as a citizen of the Soviet Union for 70 years. You could not leave the country. Not like Iran, where they can go to Turkey and Dubai and visit. Like North Korea. You can't leave. You're not allowed to leave. You're in a fucking jail as a for me, I'm so grateful. These are my parents. This is what they lived. So you come here and it's people are crying about all sorts of dumb shit. It's unfair. You don't have a fucking clue what's unfair. You don't have a fucking clue of what's unfair. You're buying $8 coffee. You're fucking ordering an Uber Eats Postmates to pick up your fucking turkey bacon to be delivered at your fucking house. You have Netflix and Hulu and HBO Max. The fuck's the matter with Americans?
I want people to actually think about what that situation you just described would be like. Because then once you understand that that is a possibility that humans have gone through and come out on the other side tremendously successful, correct, you really have nothing to go. There are no excuses.
Forget about my parents in the 60s and 70s. There's all sorts of Muslims being locked up in China as we speak. There's genocide around the world. There's a fucking war in Ukraine and Russia. Like, people are dying, actually. Like, Iran, do you know how many things are going on every second? And then you literally are on social media posting about, like, you're mad about, like, Delta canceling your flight. We just are so over the top entitled in first world countries. We are so spoiled. We are so fortunate. Like, and what do? We decide to look at the 1% of the people in our society in America instead of looking at where we rank in 8 billion. Mm-hmm. So you're mad because your life's not as good as Jay-Z's. Meanwhile, your life is better than 6 billion, 7 billion other people. We just do not have gratitude and appreciation, and we have incredible levels of envy and jealousy, and it's destroying people's mental state.
We call that the victim mentality.
100%.
Blaming other people or outside circumstances for why you can't achieve your goals. Or
and I want everybody to hear this, which doesn't mean they're not true.
Right.
Racism, sexism, religious persecution, this is happening all over the place. But so is everything. One of the things we have to get out of is grouping. Gen Z versus boomers. Men versus women.
Yeah.
Right? Like generalization is driving everyone crazy. Like, it's just hard. It's fucking hard. I have unlimited Gen Z kids who I think are the hardest workers I've ever met, and unlimited boomers who I thought were lazy as fuck.
Yeah.
Unlimited. I have unlimited people who are alpha male and they're the nicest humans on, just enough of the book by its cover and generalization. It's just enough already. Talk about Rick Thompson. Don't talk about 30-year-old men.
Who's Rick Thompson?
Rick Thompson is a random 30-year-old man I just made up about. What I'm saying is instead of we just got to get out of generalization. We got to get out of it. Fuck, I got to go.
Okay.
Sneak something in before we get out of here.
All right. Free speech.
Free speech.
Is it being suppressed?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
All right. We'll leave it.
Because it's not. People are trying to say it is, but it's really not. It's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
So that's just another excuse people are using.
People are using it to say shit that is so outlandish. I actually think we've got more free speech than we've ever had by a country fucking mile. Mm. Because now even civility has been thrown out the window so that people can say whatever the fuck they want. I actually think it's completely the reverse.
All right. Gary V, thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. Please share this episode with someone else who will benefit from it, so together we will make thriving standard. And if you haven't already, subscribe to get more content like this every single week. Until next time, live the captain's lifestyle.